yourself from the screen, or never mind. Okay, it looks like we are live, but before we get started, let me share the video, guys. So just take a second. Let me share this. Okay, so I am back. I shared it already. Good morning to those of you guys in the US side. I'm actually not in the US right now, so it's an afternoon here in Europe. Uh, what I would do is this is Bertwocane's first live, so I'm kind of introducing, just kind of semi introducing before official introduction, Bertwocane, and then obviously our very respected Reverend who's here. I couldn't say this discussion is going to be the most timely discussion to have. So the way we're going to do Burtukan is that feel free to introduce after I just conclude in about a few seconds, introduce everybody just basically, especially yourself, Reverend Samuel, and then also today's discussion. I'll just, I'm not expert in any religion, certainly not Orthodox, but this conversation is coming on the heel of a recent article we published that got a lot of the attention. So I think we're just gonna go from there, and I'll pass it to you, Rutugan.
Yeah, so I can do a quick introduction. My name is Bertwocane. I am a product manager in tech. I'm very excited to be here and to be talking to both of you. So today we'll be discussing, like Seenaa said, the article that Ollaa released, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And I'll pass it on to our guest speaker, Reverend Samuel, to do an intro.
So my name is Samuel Branu Jabesa. I am Ethiopian Orthodox Church servant or priest, and I used to work in Ethiopian Orthodox Church in different dioceses and Patriarchate Aid Office at Addis Ababa of Finfinne as a preaching department, and then the Deputy Department of Legal Service. And really, it is a nice time to just come together and discuss on the issue of Ethiopian Orthodox Church, because now it is hot issue. It is on the table, and really we have historical and even this is going on right now. So it is better to give awareness for our audience, and I appreciate you to facilitate these kinds of media to address our um, audience. Thank you.
Bertukan, if I can say one thing, just before you get to your question, for our audience who are tuned in from live, as Reverend Samuel say, this is historical time for the Oromos as well as for Ethiopia in general. For the first time in how many? I mean, since the Orthodox Church is almost the founding member of the state of or the country of the Empire of Ethiopia, so there is historically very deep political as well as the religious aspect intertwined. So this conversation coming on the heel of that, and there's a lot of people who want to ask and who want to, engage us live. And I definitely say we have our host, very special from background, Keaton and I. On your comments. They will share it here with us, which will kind of try to ask Reverend Samuel about those of the question that's going to come. Secondly, I also wanted to say this is, as I said earlier, Bertukane's first kind of hosting a panel discussion. She came to Ollaa as a Oromo student, and she's been in the background and with a huge interest to help. And I think Reverend Samuel would appreciate to have young people like Bertukane, because it gives a two dynamic. You have two generation, Ethiopian born, Ethiopian raised, the older generation of both the political and the religion aspect, and then you have a diaspora Orthodox followers like yourself, Bertukan, young person, grew up here in diaspora, have a very little connection with back home except, that, knowing that you take trip. But, and then they also what's happening, what's unfolding historically before us. And for me as well, Ifata, who is neither the follower of this religion, we have something similar about 4 months ago when we had during the Recha, when we have young men who is what Ifata and an older person who we interview. So I think this comes in the heel of to for the larger audience to understand the power, but also while at the same time focusing on the article. And so I just want to add that context.
Yeah, thank you for giving us that context. I think that's a great segue into the first question that I would like to ask Reverend Samuel. So the Ethiopian Orthodox Church has a very long history with the Horn of Africa and the founding of Ethiopia, and it differs in a few ways from other Christian religions. And I was wondering if you can tell us about the historical relationship between Ethiopia, the Orthodox Church, as well as the Oromo people.
Oh, uh, you just throw to the point, because there is historical as the largest Orthodox or Christian followers in Horn of Africa, sub-Saharan country, that Ethiopian Orthodox Church is the largest one. And when you come to the relation with Oromo and the other nation and the nationalities, we can say that too, because as everybody knows, Ethiopia has about 85 nation and the nationalities there. So when you see Ethiopian Orthodox Church, it is spread all over the country. In Oromia, there are large number of followers in the churches. In Oromia, that about 65% of the income of the church comes from the Oromia region, and 10 million followers of Ethiopian Orthodox churches out of the church now. They left the church, and most churches in Oromia is closed due to the lack of priests and deacons and the bishop who serves the people in their language, respect their culture. So, Eloise, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, it is not as a dogmatic issue, has no any problem for me. Canonical issue has no problem, but administration problems create a lot of things ups and down. As I am speaking right now, the Holy Synod is in the meeting to decide whether to include bishops from all nations and the nationalities, or only keeping the Amara regional bishops to call themselves as Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and leaving the question of the nation and the nationality, but only to fulfill the interest of only one region in that country. So we lost about 10 million followers as Oromo from Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Still the church in Oromia some of them are closed due to the lack of the service that to be rendered in the Afan Oromo, because it is obvious that if you start speaking in Afan Oromo in the church, they say immediately, oh, shut your mouth. This is the place of worship. You can speak this out of the church, not in the church. Or when you ask them to pray on your language, they say, only Ge'ez or American God listen. So this is not like this is one everybody can go and see the same Amharic culture, Amharic language, over from the north to the south, from the east to the west, that you see in Orthodox Church. So what we are struggling right now is we have to really bother about the sheep, God's sheep, people, the follower, to keep them in religion. We have to respect the human rights, the law of the land, the constitutional rights, and the human rights that is ratified in our constitution, that is international. The World Council of Church, African Council of Church accepts and supports that. So Orthodox and Oromo, most of the time they said that looks real, really. The Orthodox Church needs the property, but not the people. They say that, but we have struggling to answer that. Not that. This is not the stand of the church, but the lack of administration. God gives this religion for us, not to grasp the land, not to have the property there, but to take care of the sheep of the sheep of God, the people, the followers. So we are just shifting this and working on followers base, respecting with culture and identity of nation and the nationality. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that great answer. Yeah, like you said, I think this is a human rights issue. And when you were talking, I remembered a few stories that I would hear from my family members who were part of the Orthodox Church back home, who were told, like, Oromo men can't go above a deacon, or the Afan Oromo language is not holy enough to be used within the church. And that made me really, it put everything into perspective in how Oromos are and were being treated in the Orthodox Church. And with that, I wanted to just hear about your personal experience within the Orthodox Church and how you navigate practicing your faith as an Oromo person as well as an Orthodox person.
Thank you. It's from early age, like 12 years, that I start going to church and consecrated as a deacon, and then I serve. I give a service. I start giving service in the Sunday schools, and then as a deacon. Finally, after I I was graduate from theology, around 2000. Then I start serving. But what I practice somewhere in the church, when I serve in Afan Oromo, I speak in Afan Amharic language, and I preach. But most of the time when I go to Oromia region, and I spent about half an hour for preaching, and I use about 5 minutes of an Oromo. Some of the northern culture and ideology, church leaders say, "Oh, don't bring this language to the church." So they don't like to hear Afan Oromo in the church. But we try to just really teach them that we have to address God's message to all nations, and that is biblical. That is a rule of the church. But for the sake of just the political interest to keep Amara culture and the language in the church, assuming that if nation and the nationality culture and the language is practiced in Ethiopia, it may be the end of Ethiopia, they say. But that is false altitude for me. It's unacceptable, because the Ethiopia have to continue, if it is necessary, with respect of the rights of nation and the nationality, respecting the culture and the language of nation and the nationality, which is about citizen issue. And as a citizen, we have our own vote on that. but it is really, the church is the place of a spiritual, must be separate from politics and respect the human rights, culture, social and economical rights versus secularism. So one thing that, as the last time in Washington, D.C. in 2019, when I went to our community, Oromo community, for the first time, after I started living in Washington, D.C. in the USA, about 5 years, then they invited me to bless the congregation. At that time, the Oromo community were gathered and invite religious leaders from different religion, because religion freedom is in Oromia is the culture. By its culture, you can see in not only nowadays like a constitutional right or human right, but by its culture in Oromia, when you go to remote from the city, even you can see different religion in the one house, in the one family. So the same culture that they call from Muslim, from Waqifata, from Protestant, from Orthodox. And when I appeared there in the place, the Orthodox Church living in Washington, D.C., and the place where I'm serving in St. Mary, Ethiopian Orthodox Church in Washington, D.C., immediately they send me a text saying that no more to come to the church. That time is a Saturday, but I was preparing to go to church on the next morning. It is Sunday, but I get the text from the church leader saying that the people are very hungry. It may be affect your life, and even our church may be at danger if you come. So please, you are no need to come no more. So this is what's happening. The reason why, because I just accept the invitation of my Oromo people and to just pray for our country, for Oromia, for all nation, for a peace. But finally, I was just get a letter to get out from Orthodox Church due to my identity. Finally, I say no way. Enough is enough. That is a political issue, not a religious issue. Discrimination on base of ethnicity or nationality or the language or the culture you follow is not allowed for a church. So I didn't went to the courts. Actually, I prepare all the documents, but I don't like to sue my church. Rather, I wanted to teach this and try to bring a change here in America and then in Ethiopia too, in Oromia too. So as soon as they try to excommunicate me from the church, the Oromo priestess and the Oromo bishops from Holy Synod get this point and get the decision that the justice is not being served in the synod. Only the Amhara priestess or bishops come from the same area are making influence in their number, and those voice on the Synod and try to bring or lead a church in only Amara psychologies and belief. Finally, they send us, blessed us, and send Faisa Adunya, the Ark of the Covenant, in Afan Oromo. So for the first time in Ethiopian history, Medanialim in Giz, Yalim Medanit in Amharic, Faisa Adunya in Afan Oromo, the first Ark of the Covenant, and which is historical, really. It is a milestone for Oromo people. Then we found the first Oromo Orthodox Church in Washington, D.C. And now, starting from that time, our all Oromo people from even different religion, they really congratulate us for our achievement. Nowadays, it is historical. Now, last Sunday, the Oromo priests came together and said that no more of domination of one nation in the synod, as far as the church is called by Ethiopian Orthodox Church. It must be looked like Ethiopians.
Mm-hmm.
So that they consecrate, appointed 26 bishops from different nations. 3 of the bishops came together and appointed 26 bishops from Oromia, Gurage, Adia, Gamo, Sidama, Gedio, Ageo, different nations and nationalities. And they didn't consecrate the patriarch because the patriarch is there. And now the last decision is waiting to just solve the problem of administration. It is not dogmatic. It is not canonical problem, but administration problem. And they are trying to solve that. And we are watching our bishops, the new appointed bishops and the Oromo bishops, to be saved and sit together and negotiate, look at themselves up and refer all the apostolic creeds from the founder of the church, from the Holy Bible and the traditional books also, versus the human rights, the constitutional rights, and the administration problem of the church. If they solve that, it may be good. If not solved, maybe we pray to God and waiting for other decision, interference, divine interference. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the great answer. I think you touched on really important points there. I think one of my favorite things about being Oromo and being Orthodox is the resiliency of these two groups coming together in face of discrimination. And I personally have heard of, all of, not just back home in Oromia, but also here in America, people's experiences within the church and how their Oromuma and their identities as being Orthodox can sometimes be in conflict, and that is not really usually celebrated within the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. And going off of that, with the current news and everything going on in Ethiopia within the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, I wanted to quickly ask Seenaa, if you have time, how other Oromo people can support the Oromo Orthodox community, and what role that they have to play in the current situation.
Yeah, thank you very much, really,
Let-
Seenaa.
yes, let me just quickly, I have to run, Reverend. I wanted to really, this is such a fascinating because history, we are in the midst of history. We don't feel the magnitude of the change that is unraveling before us. 50 years from now, 20, 30 years from now, this moment, in your experience, Reverend, it's going to be for children to read about how simply excommunicated from the church for speaking Afan Oromo in America. So I can only imagine what these people would do to those Oromos who dare to speak Afan Oromo in a church in a rural part of Oromia. You know what I'm saying? It's so fascinating to me that if they are capable of doing this in America, in 21st century, that we cannot preach in a Oromo in a church. It is so much fascinating, so much things to say. I'll say that I have to run, and I also wanted to say that for Bertwocane, it's for me so interesting because you as a young woman who grew up here, like you say, you're two identity. You're Orthodox, Ethiopian Orthodox, at the same time you're Oromo. It doesn't really go together. Like, how do you reconcile that? How does it feel to be sometimes, I went to school here too. It used to be a time that I used to hide my identity, not the Oromo identity, like some other things. So I would be so curious to know, what I'm saying, how does it feel for you guys this moment, what's happening in Ethiopia? Because Reverend Samuel here 4 years ago paved the water, paved the tar 4 years ago by blessing in Afan Oromo that led to the creation of Fayisa Adunya, the first Oromo Orthodox Church. Today, in Oromia, Oromo people are rising and to stand with the Orthodox, not just because Orthodox Oromos, but actually Orthodox Oromos and non-Oromos and everybody, with exception to one small minority radical group, I would say, the same kind of group who are accused of committing genocide in Tigray, documented, are currently right now, as we're talking, terrible atrocity happening in Ollaa by the same region, by the same group. They committed the same thing against other people, Benishangul Gumuz, against so many people, but under the cover of Orthodox, under the cover of religion, they for so long they have survived. But this is the last straw, and they're gonna fight tooth and nail. So what we did is, I'll just say this and I'll leave, is that we've written to different people, including our embassy in the U.S. We are very concerned about the safety of these individuals and the well-being of everybody else. And this is a religion, very sensitive area that the U.S. should pay attention. But it's very important because these people are so good at with their propaganda. What they will tell you is that for 150 years they couldn't speak Afan Oromo. All of a sudden now the priests in Oromia are speaking Afan Oromo. That, oh, we always preach Afan Oromo, but it's not true. We know because we were born and raised in Oromia. They don't speak. They look down the language, but they are very good at selling this propaganda. In 2019, right before this incident, when there was incident, about 87 people died, Pope Francis, prayed for Christian Ethiopians when the perpetrators are this very group. So my advice for the government, Ethiopian government, the international community, is to really, really pay attention to these very fanatic people who control the country and stabilizing the region. It is for the safety and stability of the international as well as the U.S. interest that the region is kept stable. And to do that, these people need to be called out. For the Oromo protest, for the Oromo Orthodox followers in general, our call is it's time right now to stand up with our Orthodox brothers and sisters who are facing I don't know, I mean, the evil within hidden in the religion is going to strike back, is going to strike hard, and is going to try to create fake propaganda, accusing these individuals of not being this and not being that, or being this or that. So I think we have to be very cautious and very focused. And people like Samuel, Reverend Samuel, I think you have a big role, as especially to educate the international community what's happening, because people don't know. People think it's like some radical Oromo priest or some radical Oromo are doing something, but it's not what it is. The Oromo cannot preach, you cannot talk to the God in their own language, in their own country. They're not saying that in Amhara region. Well, it's okay, people can practice in Amhara region Amharic, but how dare you going to practice in Afan Oromo in the Church of Orthodox? I think that needs to be spelled out, it needs to be written in English, it needs to be talked about it more. And I'll just say that, and I'm going to excuse myself, and I'm so sorry that I'm kind of running.
Yeah, really, Sena. You know, one thing we have to know is the source of assumption of the source of knowledge in Ethiopia is from the church, from the monastery, before the Minister of Education. Before a Minister of Health, the church plays a significant role. But now, all these parties, education, health, staffs have their own minister, which is out of interference of any religion. That's about secularism. But still, they are thinking that we are the founder of the country. We have a 3,000 years of history in the patriarchate, in the religion, and so far. But when you see when the patriarchate leadership comes, it is in 1959. So, false narrative, false propaganda, and using the church pulpit for just certain political interest, which is not acceptable in any manner. So, as you say, what we are doing is now that to reveal the truth, to educate, to give information, to aware our people, not only following the church, but being a rational thinker. When they say that, they have a lot of medias, speakers, but the truth has no any speakers and access to the medias and the people. But that means that it is not to mean that they have no any truth. We have a truth. We need support. We need attention, global attention. We have in a fear. Still, they are in boycotting the place where the new appointed bishops reside in this day, today. So they need a special protection, especially in Ethiopia right now, in Oromia, in Addis Ababa, in Finfinne. They are not allowed to speak their language, pray on their language in this 21st century. Just right now, bishops were consecrated bishop were consecrated to serve a church, but now the Holy Synod, Amara Holy Synod, because Tigrayan is out of that synod, but Amara bishops became in the name of Holy Synod and making decide in Oromia against the interest of Oromia by gathering in Oromia, Finfinne. Thank you. Just to add some tips on your.
Yeah. Thank you for putting that into perspective. It's just, for me, it's difficult to understand that, if you were to explain the situation in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church to someone that doesn't have any context, and you say exactly like you said, that Oromo people can't practice with the Afan Oromo language in their own land, I would think that they would find it very peculiar and a little very peculiar, just to say the least. So thank you for the perspective that you've brought. I have a question about like the current situation that is happening in Ethiopia and the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. So with the current news that is coming out within the last, I think, week or so, what actions do you think the Oromo Orthodox community can take to ensure that the Oromo people within the US and also back home can have a safe space to practice their religion, the Orthodoxy, without it being in conflict with their Oromo ethnicity, with their Oromoma? What actions can we take within the diaspora, and then what actions can people back home take?
Really, this is a historic change. This is a turning, the milestone for our church, even for our culture and identity. And it has not only religious aspect, even human right aspect, justice, equality. And they are demanding, we are demanding, not a new law, but the law which is in the Bible, to serve our nation, our people in their own language, to respect all nation and the nationality in their own just culture and identity, accepting the culture and identity. That is written in the constitution of the federal government and also in the regional government too. Just what we're saying right now is those who lead in the country right now have to just practice what is written in the constitution. It is not about only religion, but identities also. So human rights question is there. You have to support, watch out what is going on the ground about the safety of the bishops, Oromo priests and deacons, and the Sunday school leaders and the followers of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, because the attacker is those who are doing a false propaganda to reject the equality of nation and the nationality and implication of the federal, rights, the international rights, the constitutional rights of Oromo people. So those who are fighting for your right, you have to support. Those who leading the country, you have to support this. You have to stand with this issue. It is no political issue. It is religious issue. Even if there is secularism, you are not allowed to interfere to this, but still justice need to be served. And the diaspora Oromo, not on the base of religion, as Oromo and Oromumma and Oromia, we have to just, of course, you are doing the same thing. We have a tradition to come together and solve our problem. It is in every direction to keep our interest. And I am very glad to get most of you religious leaders from different religion saying congratulations for the appointments of the bishops in all medias or Oromo organization. I know that, we get that. Our fathers, the leaders, Abba Sawiros, Abuna Sawiros, Abuna Zena Marcos, Abuna Eustatios, the three bishops who appointed the new appointed bishop. They knows the all Oromo people behind them and supporting them. But now we are really at the last moment. The Holy Synod decision. Yesterday they pray, opening prayer. Today's first day. Within 3 days, we have a fasting and a praying time. We are just revealing these truths for the world, for God, for all nations, for the world. Look at our truth. Where is the truth? Oh Lord, we need divine intervention. So after 3 days, if they made a mistake on the synod, maybe the other decision may be taken by the bishop up to the just Oromia synod maybe come soon. I don't know that. But still now the synod is the same. But what the bishop is asking is let Oromo priests and Oromo bishops serve the Oromia. Amara serve the Amara, Tigray serve the Tigray, and the nation and the nationalities have to be served in their language, in their language and the culture, with the bishop who speaks their language and the culture, appreciates their culture, which is no conflict with the religion. So now the people in diaspora, those who working in human rights, in the media, you have to aware of this and share our truths to the world, reveal to the world, and stand to support what we just facing right now, since it is about human rights, religious freedom, and the cultural and the social rights. So in any channel, the European governments, American governments, the African governments, and especially World Council of Church, African Council of Church, need to interfere on this. Look at the truth. Help our fathers. About 10 million followers from Ethiopian Orthodox Church in Oromia were left the church. The church is closed. In other side, they said, the church is burned in Oromia. Priests were died in Oromia. Of course, they are killing a priest. Case Petros, or the priest Petros, was killed in Sabbata due to supporting Manalubuma Oromia. Deacons were died on the base of supporting the Oromia. They are killing. So we have a fear of life even. So we need a special protection, a special attention. Up to now, the government of Ethiopia really doing good job in terms of this. In Ethiopia, our Oromo priests, bishops, they didn't excel in their land. Why? People are protecting us, not the government. Even they said, our people can protect us. Or if we die for our rights, for our equalities and justice in Oromia. We don't like to fly out from Ethiopia or from that land. That is why they trust the followers, the Oromo, and they take this risk. Really, it's red line, but must have to be changed. So we need your support in every manner, in legal aspect, and in any media aspects and all aspects, to realize this historical change at the current time in Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Thank you.
Yeah. I think like the 10 million number is really sticking out to me, that 10 million people, 10 million Oromos have left the Orthodox Church within Oromia. Personally, I've seen that happen in America as well, where Oromos often feel discriminated against, so they go to another Orthodox church, like an Egyptian Orthodox church, or find some alternative ways to practice their spirituality, or some people just even convert to a different religion. So I think it's important to really listen to Oromo people in hopes of preserving orthodoxy in a peaceful manner, and making sure, just like you said, I think one really great takeaway is just having our eyes on the people back home, Orthodox people back home, bishops, deacons, and help out any way that we can. So thank you so much for all the perspective that you've brought today and sharing all your thoughts and experiences. This was really insightful for me as a diaspora within the Oromo, within the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. I have one concluding question as we are coming to time. So finally, what are your hopes for the future of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church? What do you envision? How do you see like the ideal church for all Ethiopian Orthodox people?
Yeah, really. Thank you. As everybody knows, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church has special respect in Ethiopia, and all, not only the follower, but the Muslims, the Protestants, all religions respect the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, of course. And what we are doing that right now is just to fix the administration problem, to keep that respect, and to avoid cover the political issue in the name of religion, and realize to serve religious aspect only in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. And those politicians comes to the church in different position to realize the interest of certain group have to be go and start a new political organization if they need, and leave the church for the believers, and the church is for all nation and the nationality, not of the certain group interest. So our future has a bright future. Really, I have a bright future. This thing is changes the church, and solves the problem, and those who left the church really will become soon to their father's house, having clothing their traditional clothes, and speaking their own language, and enjoy the freedom that God gives them, and which is unalienable, anyone cannot take from them, and worship the Orthodoxy religion freely without any discrimination. That will be our goal, and we never stop until this will be realized as a will of God. And we believe that God is with us. So it is a spiritual struggle. So the Oromo people stand with us. Yes, when Faisa Dunya church is established, or Oromo, from Muslim, from Protestant, from all religion, they support in different manner. Really, we appreciate that, and always they are supporting us because they knows what is human rights. They knows what is religious freedom from our tradition, from our safu. So we have to continue that, and our future will be really shiny.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you for that thought. I also imagine a place where everybody can practice their culture as freely as possible while practicing their religion as well. And I hope we see that very soon. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you just for your time and for your perspective, and for coming on these platforms to shed light on what is going on back home. So thank you so much. Yeah. This is the time that we've had. I think we're a little bit over time, but thank you for your time, Reverend Samuel.
Thank you.